think I'm slowly slipping into perpetual sleep paralysis, and it terrifies me beyond words. By Hyper Obscura. I remember when I was just a child, maybe 5 or 6, waking up in the middle of the night completely unable to move. It was the most terrifying thing that ever happened to me. I've experienced sleep paralysis many times in my life, more than I can count, but since the first time, man, that was intense. Thankfully, and I mean it, I didn't have any hallucinations. I don't know, I'd probably be fucked up beyond repair. But still, imagine being a kid, waking up and your body is completely unresponsive. That's some shit that'll stay with you forever. Like I said, I'm no stranger to sleep paralysis anymore. I sorta got used to it after a while, finding techniques to wake myself up if it happened. And I've never hallucinated before. Not that I know of anyway. Sure, I would see shadows dancing and light moving, but that could be easily explained away by cars passing my bedroom window, or branches waving in the wind. Eventually, I grew out of it. Or so I thought. I think it all started at my father-in-law's funeral. The whole thing was bizarre. I never actually met the man, but I don't think anyone there wept more than I did. My wife and mother-in-law had the ceremony right at the end, where they lay his blue royal pendant on top his coffin, and caressed their own identical pendants. It was a family crest, an heirloom, and whispered goodbye. I don't know. I lost it at that part. I was a fucking blubbering mess. And in the end, it was my wife who had to comfort me. When I say I never met the man, that's not entirely true. I saw him once, very briefly. I accompanied my wife to the nursing home where he'd been staying for the last 20 or so years, and I snuck a peek through the door as my wife left the bathroom. It was horrible, let me tell you. Especially for me, given my history with sleep paralysis. The poor man was nothing but skin and bones, his mouth wide open and drool running down his neck. Empty, tearful, tormented eyes staring into the void. He had been like that for 25 years, and no one could figure out why. According to the doctors, the experts, there was nothing physically wrong with him. He was just stuck in the state of perpetual sleep paralysis. I shudder at the thought of it. Imagine spending every waking moment in this immobile meat sack, conscious and clear, but unable to do anything. I'd fucking kill myself. Except that's not really a choice, is it? You can't even end your own miserable fucking existence. That's true fucking horror. Anyway, I guess it sorta just got to me when he died. I kept thinking about how depressed he must have been, how messed up and dreary and useless his existence was. I couldn't purge it from my mind. It was hands down my worst nightmare. A few days after the funeral, I had my first sleep paralysis in 15 years. It wasn't too bad admittedly, but it still freaked me out. I laid awake staring at the ceiling for like an hour before I was able to snap out of it. When I did, I just sat up in the bed hyperventilating, too afraid to go back to sleep. My wife eventually woke up and comforted me, but it didn't help. It was back, and I hated it. The next couple of nights, things, escalated. I woke up the same, locked inside my body, unable to move. But something was in there, with me. I couldn't see what it was. It was always just on the edge of my peripheral vision. I think it was definitely a humanoid shape, though. It wandered, floated, and hovered around for hours. And I couldn't snap out of it. I think maybe I was afraid. Afraid it might be something more than a hallucination. During my waking hours, I was exhausted, completely drained of energy. Sure, my body had slept, but my mind, my brain, wasn't getting the rest that it needed. And I lumbered around like a zombie, never fully conscious. My wife noticed, of course, and I had to tell her what was going on with me. It was hard, you know? I was supposed to be strong, unflinching, indestructible. But she always understood me. She suggested that I tried some warm milk and tea before bed. So, I figured I'd give it a shot. It couldn't get any worse, right? Turns out that it could. I woke up to her sitting on my chest. The hag. I'm sure you've heard of her. She's like a sleep paralysis legend or something. The night hag. Her lethargic face was warped and twisted, and weirdly out of focus the entire time. But I could make out her primal, crooked, kinda lean features, and a horrid grin, stretching from ear to ear. I tried my best to move, to snap out of it, to force my muscles into action, but it was all to no avail. She had total and absolute dominance over me. I couldn't say how long she was perched over me, but it had to be hours, when she finally crawled off and she just disappeared into the darkness beyond my vision. I think maybe I just lost consciousness. I woke up 12 hours later, but I still felt like shit. My wife didn't wake me up. It was a Saturday, and she thought that I could use the rest. I told her what had happened, what I had seen, what I experienced. But she didn't seem overly concerned. It was just a dream, she said. A very vivid hallucination. It'll be alright. I believed her. But I shouldn't have. She came to me 3 nights in a row. The same ritual. The same horrid, wicked, gruesome grin. I could do nothing but stare into this contorted visage, her twirling cold eyes eating away at my very soul. I could do nothing but despair and anguish. My mind trying desperately to shut down. I could do nothing. Look, I consider myself a fairly mentally stable guy, but after those nights, I think I was definitely losing my grip on reality. Everything felt like a dream, or a nightmare, and I really couldn't function at all. My wife tried her best to encourage me, to offer solutions and advice, but I struggled to pay attention to anything she said. I just wanted everything to be over. And I mean everything. But I wasn't ready to end it, you know? I wanted to fight it. It was all in my head, right? I could beat myself, I'm pretty sure after all. Now that I know what's coming, I could face it, own it, defeat it, know your enemy and all that. I was ready for anything. But, to my extreme dismay and horror, I quickly realized that I wasn't prepared at all. I mean, she had to know it, right? Know that I was ready to face her? That's why she wasn't alone this time around. There were 2 of them. One on either side of my face, just staring at me, grinning ear to ear, wheezing discordantly, licking my eyes, tasting my tears. Look, I'm at my wit's end here, and I'm not losing it anymore. I'm pretty sure I already lost it. They're destroying me, devouring me, endlessly haunting me. I'm also paralyzed for longer and longer periods. 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, an entire fucking night. It's eating away at everything that I am, everything that makes me, me. I'm becoming a hollow husk, an entirely empty shell. I'm becoming my father-in-law. But that's not the worst part. The worst part happened last night. They were there again, inches from my face, licking and tasting their horrible, watery, discolored tongues all over my face. And I saw it. It was just dangling there in front of me the entire time. How did I not see it sooner? It was right there. From their necks. Just swinging side to side hypnotically. It was those royal blue pendants. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this story. I tried a little bit of a different recording method, so let me know if you like it, don't like it, or if you couldn't really tell the difference in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. And let's get right to the patrons, who are all listed on screen right now. Dan R., Paul Z., Cody V., Chaos X, Mr. Swiston, Official Jerboa, JY Pyromancer, Hayden MH, Ethan A., Dark Side of the Bear, Daniel H., and Maximilian Charles P. Guys, if you want to be a patron and help support the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. You can do so by going to the link in the description. Thank you.